How does intersectionality critique libertarianism? Imagine a world where everyone is treated exactly the same, regardless of their background or experiences. Now, think again about how social inequalities really work. Intersectionality is a way to understand how different parts of a person's identity, like race, gender, class, and sexuality, combine to create unique experiences of privilege and oppression. It shows us that social identities don't exist in isolation but overlap in ways that shape people's access to opportunities and rights. Libertarianism is all about individual freedom, limited government, and free markets. It believes that people should be free to chase their goals as long as they don't harm others. Libertarians usually think that social problems are best solved through personal effort, private charity, and market forces rather than government intervention. But intersectionality challenges this view by pointing out that many social inequalities are rooted in deep, structural systems of power that can't be fixed just by individual actions. One major critique from intersectionality is that libertarianism underestimates how persistent and ingrained these structural inequalities are. While libertarians see inequality as mainly caused by individual choices or temporary market issues, intersectionality argues that systems like racism, sexism, and economic disparity are built into society itself. For example, women of color often face discrimination that is not just racism plus sexism but a complex mix that needs targeted solutions. Ignoring these layered disadvantages can leave marginalized groups behind. Another point is that libertarianism emphasizes personal responsibility and believes that individuals can improve their lives through effort and voluntary cooperation. Intersectionality responds that social structures often limit opportunities for marginalized groups, no matter how hard they try. If barriers like discrimination or lack of access to education are ignored, then simply encouraging individual effort can actually reinforce existing inequalities. Libertarians also tend to oppose government intervention, believing that markets and private charity are enough to address social issues. But intersectionality argues that the state can play a vital role in fixing injustices, especially when biases are built into social institutions. For example, anti-discrimination laws or social welfare programs can help level the playing field for those facing compounded disadvantages. Furthermore, intersectionality highlights how some groups benefit from unearned privileges, advantages that might be invisible to those who have them. Libertarianism's focus on formal equality under the law can overlook these informal benefits, allowing disparities to continue even when overt discrimination is absent. This means that treating everyone exactly the same on paper might ignore the real-world advantages some groups hold. In practice, intersectionality pushes for policies like affirmative action or targeted social programs to help those who face multiple layers of discrimination. Libertarians often see these as government overreach that infringes on individual liberty and free markets. They worry that such measures can create new forms of coercion and distort economic freedom. While some intersectional thinkers do appreciate certain liberal principles like free speech and civil liberties, they argue that these alone are not enough. They believe that addressing the complex web of social inequalities requires more than just individual rights. It calls for collective action and structural change to truly create a fair society. So, the core critique is that libertarianism, with its focus on individual freedom and minimal government, often misses how deeply embedded social inequalities are. It tends to see problems as individual failures rather than systemic issues. Intersectionality reminds us that true justice involves understanding and addressing the complex, overlapping layers of privilege and oppression that shape people's lives. This ongoing debate about how best to achieve fairness and liberty continues to influence ideas about social justice and the future of society.